Hello, hello, hello. This is the FIFA Club World Cup podcast with the Qooligan, as well as a third wheel, as it appears, because we have obviously just finished this Chelsea Benfica Showdown. Our old friend of the show, Mike, who is obviously from the Benfica podcast. Qooligan, I don't mean to make you irrelevant, but you've got to go to beer and some entertainment.
I'm not in the driver's seat, so I can enjoy the beverage.
You certainly can.
I'm very content to be where I'm at.
Just get in the back and enjoy.
I'm going to let you two go for it, because I have a feeling you've got some things to say to each other.
That there is, well, it was a special and interesting spectacle. Wonderful. So that game is finished 4-1. I don't think it's probably a fair representation of the actual game. In a way, I think it was probably a little bit unfair, both on Benfica and definitely Chelsea didn't deserve to win 4-1 for sure. Mike, what is your take from a Benfica perspective about how that game unfolded, and also as well Benfica's sort of general performance in the Club World Cup?
Yeah, so going into the game, I was obviously hopeful as and optimistic as a Benfica fan, and not liking Chelsea because I have a handful of friends who are Chelsea fans and they're unbearable. So
I understand. I understand.
That's worthy of a
cheers to that.
So in terms of being realistic, the squads are miles apart as it relates to investment quality. I mean, it's the reality of it, right? The Portuguese league versus the investment that Chelsea's made, you can't compare. Now, the run of play, I thought Chelsea was superior. Benfica sat back. They played compact. It reminded me a lot of a match that Benfica played earlier in the season away to Bayern Munich in the Champions League, where we lost 1-0, but we didn't do anything. We didn't test them. We didn't create anything. We couldn't hold the ball. We couldn't get out. And for 85 minutes or 84 minutes until the weather decided to come to a screeching halt, we were second best the entire game. And Chelsea had a variety of opportunities that I would say 2-3 maybe clear-cut opportunities that they didn't score on. Palmer had a nice shot that Trubin saved with his right hand. Cucurella had that shot that Antonio Silva saves off the line with his head. And then there was one more that Trubin saves, and he saves with his arm, and it ends up almost in midfield, which was incredible how far that ball went. He's been clearly... It was unreal how far that ball shot out of a cannon. Yeah. And
wow.
Those opportunities. Go ahead.
The commentator was talking about, because the NBA draft's going on at the moment, and talking about wingspan, and he's always 6'3". They were saying his wingspan could be like 7 foot. He's a monster. Huge. He's an absolute monster. Yes.
Yeah. And of all those opportunities, the one they score on is a mistake and a stupid foul conceded by Florentino, and then they follow that up with a poorly placed wall and then a goal that we can't concede, which is unfortunate because Trubin has been easily a top 3 best player for us this tournament. Then came the stoppage of the game. I had no hope, if I'm being honest, for these final minutes. You're stopped for 2 hours. Benfica is down. I figured they were just going to, the more likely was Benfica was going to press and create gaps, and Chelsea was going to finish them off quickly. Lo and behold, a lifeline falls from the sky. We tie the game on a penalty that, again, based on the run of play, Benfica didn't deserve to take that game to overtime. When you look at the first half of overtime, we start the extra time with a red card, which, again, after what happened, we basically shoot ourselves in the foot to start. And the truth is that in that first half of extra time, I thought Benfica had the better of the opportunities. If Di Maria had fresher legs, he had one that he cuts in with his left foot and he puts right at the keeper. I thought he maybe earlier in the game, he could have decided a little bit better on that. But at the end of the day, Benfica unraveled after the 2-1, which again was another weird goal. And after that, Benfica just opened up gaps and Chelsea made it 4-1. Is the 4-1 just maybe a 3-1, but regardless, Chelsea were superior the whole way through. They deserve to go through, as much as I want to say otherwise. And Benfica's got to lick their wounds. I thought we did well in the tournament, given the conditions of our squad, given the way that we ended the season, finishing in second place, losing the cup in the final minutes. Now we've got to lick our wounds. We've got 2 2 rounds of qualification for the Champions League that we potentially have to go through to get into the Champions League that start in July. So we've got a small window to recover here.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a blessing in disguise that we go home early, because we've also got a Super Cup match against Sporting at the end of July. So we've got about 3.5 weeks. Yeah.
Damn.
So
Not a lot
that's
of
my
time for
summary.
recovery. Oh,
That
no
was
summer for you, Benfica.
No,
Sorry.
absolutely not.
No, none.
They've got maybe
Wait,
like a
there's-
week and a half.
there's no week in Ibiza to go and join up with the Madrid
No,
and the
absolutely
Barcelona
not.
boys and go and join a Pasha or something like that. And
No,
that's
they
it,
might
not
fill
happening
up
in the
some
Balearics.
inflatable pools at the academy for them, and that's about it.
Yeah, look, I think, Michael, I appreciate your
Chelsea perspective.
no, I appreciate your perspective on it as well, and you did come here and say it was all bullshit as well, and it was that's a very sort of humble and sort of realistic perspective. My thoughts on it, from Chelsea's perspective, is Chelsea could not score in a brothel. It was ridiculous. The amount of times they got through on goal, and just the link-up play between Palmer, the lap when he was on, and then Neto and those front three as well. They was just, I know they pushed Palmer out to the left, and he was kind of whipping balls in, and he just couldn't find, and he just wasn't tuned up with Delap. And I appreciate this is probably Delap's second time starting as well.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is, just one thing I did notice is this is Enzo Fernandez's first game back against his old club, of course, which Chelsea paid 100 million for as well. So that was kind of like, it's almost like winning a Club World Cup in a way, or going all the way after that. The one thing that I did think about Benfica is Tribun, the Ukrainian goalkeeper. I mean, he is fantastic. At 23 years old, he's going to get a move. And all of a sudden, he's across everyone's radar. I know Chelsea particularly are looking for a goalkeeper as well, and so Chelsea again are not afraid. I think they've just given away the world record signing goalkeeper to Arsenal in Kepa, and so there's another opportunity for Benfica to exactly. They paid 80 for him and sold him for 5. There's Benfica's chance to gouge Chelsea's eyes out and maybe sort of get another 50-60 million for him. And then also I really like Silva, the number 4. That's Silva. He is fantastic, and
he had a poor season.
Not today. He had a great game. He had a great game today.
Yes, even in this Club World Cup, he played really well. In this game, he played very well. But again, let's not forget he's 21.
Yeah,
but there we go. So you've got a 23-year-old goalkeeper and you've got a 21-year-old defender. Now, again, if we're talking about the business side of this, you guys have just won a Club World Cup right there and then, right? Because that's 250 million plus players, even more, that you'll be able to go and get as well. I know this is probably part of Benfica's model where you get the kids in from sort of, various, and then you sort of develop them and then sell them on and flip them. And that's how it is. Chelsea, though, I agree. Benfica did look a little bit exposed, and it was a little bit too easy for Chelsea just to cut through. It's just Chelsea just couldn't get their shit together to be able to just string a pass from Palmer to Delap, or Neto to Delap, or Enzo Maresca, I keep saying Maresca, Fernandez into there. And those 4 guys just couldn't seem, that diamond just couldn't seem to sync up. And then he made the changes, and then he brought Nkunku, and Nkunku was hanging back there as well. And it's like, where's the striker? And Cucurella was playing up front as well. And yeah, it was basically 2 punch drunk sort of, drunks going at each other. And Chelsea finally, Benfica landed one. That weather delay saved you, of course. And again, looking at that, I sort of stepped outside. I was like, okay, we had it on the background in mute. So I was like there. And then the penalty came, and I was like, oh God, we're extra time. Okay, we're going to lean into this. And then that stupid red card. Honestly, that was a very, very stupid red card. Like there's been, and to be fair, in this whole tournament, there's been a lot of those. There's been a lot of twos. Even who's that Italian striker, Barella as well. He got that sort of crazy. But he got a stupid red card against Barca in the first game as well. Nicholas Jackson got one as well for Chelsea. There's been a lot of stupid disciplinary things as well. Tired, and look, and to be fair,
it's humidity brain, right?
It's humidity brain. And Qooligan, you were just on the East Coast, as you said, in Charlotte, and even you were saying you went for a run, and even like normally you go for a 5-6 mile run, and after 2-3 miles, you're like, I'm done. This is just, it's too much, right?
I gave myself a red card after that because I kicked my own ass.
Yeah,
and it's I was like, no way. It was terrible.
Yeah.
No, it's tough.
My takeaway, though, my summarizing of this is Chelsea got very, very lucky. Like they really couldn't string it together towards the final. And they did play like with the more inferior teams that I've seen in this tournament, right? The better teams have been able to just bang these goals in, whether you're looking at Man City, you're looking at Juventus, you're looking at Real Madrid. But then you sort of look at Chelsea and they have a real problem up front. They look very, very toothless, and they did get very lucky. And again, considering the other game as well, I know we'll talk about that as well, but then they've got Palmeiras now coming up as well, and I know what's going to happen here. Estevao is going to come up. He's going to score a couple of goals against them, and this is what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. But we'll get to that. But yeah, I think it was a game of just calamity as well, I have to say. And then once Benfica got that got that first goal, and then it went to extra time, you could just see that counterattack coming as well. You could see Di Maria coming in, and to your point, if Di Maria had younger legs, if there was a younger version of Di Maria there, you could see him tucking one in the corner and making it 2, changing it as well, right? So yeah, I think Chelsea probably deserved to go just through on the fact that they were just, had the possession, had the opportunity, but the 4-1 was not a fair representation of that game. If you woke up tomorrow and just said, 4-1, Chelsea won, do you think they would have dominated? And maybe on the possession side they did, but they didn't deserve that. They really didn't deserve that. Qooligan, I'll stop talking.
Wow. Okay, firstly, Mike, you were incredibly gracious. Gary, you were incredibly harsh. And the truth is right there in the middle between both of you. I think Chelsea were a little better than you're making them out to be. Yes, they struggled to finish, and they struggled to convert their chances, but they never looked put out by it, right? I mean, I always thought that Chelsea had a good recovery. They never played with any sense of frustration or urgency. They felt we're going to get this. We're going to get this. I'm going to go on this. The wall may have been slightly out of position. Trubin may have been standing a little bit farther to the left than he should have. But that shot by Reece James was absolutely perfect. It was a delicious curl around the wall and right there in that bottom corner. I mean, I don't think there could have been more than a centimeter of space between.
It was perfect. There was a big gap basically that he just saw.
And I think your point about the wall is true, but I don't want to take away from James.
Correct. For you to put it there.
To make it in there. Similarly, I want to give a little bit of props to Nkunku because that finish to get the second goal was not a guarantee. Otamendi was essentially lying there. Most players would have tried to side foot that.
Blast it, blast it.
And he
put it up top.
He chips it just a tiny bit right up into the top netting. The commentators were talking about it was an ugly goal, and yes, it wasn't the prettiest. But I got to give some props on that finish because it was not a oh my God, I'm just going to wildly swing at this. He really placed it.
It was definitely a cute finish. It really was. And just going back to that Reece James goal, I mentioned as well, I was in a WhatsApp group with my Chelsea buddies, and I said it was almost as if Reece James said, look, screw these strikers. These guys can't even put the ball in the back of that. You know what? I'm just going to do it. Right, here we go. Let me just blast it in for you and do the job for you. So, right, we're done. Okay, thanks.
And James has a history of hitting these types of banging free kicks.
He's got that.
Critical
He's got that in his locker. Yeah.
And so, I mean, good for them. I agree on the whole that Chelsea was a better team. They were the one that deserved to win. If they had lost as a result of what I consider to be, these are the types of penalties that drive me absolutely bonkers, right? Where a player cannot see the incoming ball, is his arm, yes, it's over his head. Yeah. What are you supposed to do when you're falling to ground after jumping up to try and clear the ball out with a header? Your arms automatically go up above your head. It barely grazed it. It wasn't like it was going on goal and it got deflected out. I know why the penalty was given. At the same time, I'm like, surely if that had been a determining call and had shifted it and Benfica had won, between the weather delay and that soft call, oh my God, Chelsea fans up in arms, tearing
very soft.
Well, for the 20 fans that were at the stadium after the weather,
there'd be a lot of seats left over because we do have to talk about the attendance here because and we were discussing this as well, right?
Poor attendance.
Like again, poor attendance. Now, is it the location? Is it just Charlotte's difficult to get to? Is it the weather? Is it just not a main hub? Or is it just they just got really bad picks in terms of the games, because none of those games seem to be full. And that was a big stadium, right? That was a big stadium.
So firstly, Philadelphia is much harder to get to than Charlotte. Charlotte is a major airport thoroughfare.
Yep.
American, Delta,
Yep.
and United all have hubs there. So no, there's no excuse for not being able to get to Charlotte. As now, is Charlotte a destination? No. Not in anybody's book. Nobody ever willingly goes to Charlotte. Apologies to Charlotte, North Carolina. But whereas Philadelphia is kind of cool. I actually like Philly. I think Philly's awesome.
A nice history.
Yeah, I mean it's a dope place to hang out, and they have good cheesesteaks. No, there's nothing there. I was surprised. There were more people at the Bayern game under far worse circumstances weather-wise.
Yep.
You know, temperature was 41 degrees Celsius when that last Benfica game kicked off, and there were more people in the stands. So I don't really know why there were so few people. It's a Saturday, right? The Bayern Benfica game was a midweek 3 p.m. game.
Yeah.
And they had significantly more. Hold on, I'm going back and looking at my notes. They had significantly more people there. Yeah, there were 33,250 at that game. There were only 25,000. They're just under 26,000 at this. I'm not sure what's accounting for the 8,000 people
differential.
People not going in.
But I think an important piece of this, and I had actually seen a video about this earlier today, is right. You said 33,000. I think the average across all the games in this tournament has been around 36,000 across all the games.
I did the math. 33, but yeah.
So, but even 33, if you look at it, let's just say the Premier League, right? 33 is
Fair.
75-80% capacity of probably 80% of the
stadiums. Yep. Yeah.
Right. So
yep.
I think part of the problem is that these games are being played mostly in NFL stadiums.
Agreed.
Right.
Agreed.
Different type of concept, and 75. I think Bank of America fits 75,000 fans. Right, like that's a lot of space, and then like Atlanta's stadium, Mercedes-Benz, right? That's a massive stadium, right? So even though you've got 35,000 people in there, you know it looks empty because there's so many open seats. Absolutely.
All right. Can I just jump in on this as well? Because while I was there, I was looking at this literally 10 minutes before the game. I went on Ticketmaster because this is where I've been picking up all of my tickets. And level the 3 section, still $160
for the next
10
round.
minutes before the game. No, for the Chelsea Benfica game.
I was looking for the next round at Lincoln Financial if Benfica got through, and top row is 162.
Yeah, $160 as well. Right?
That same seat, Gary, was $35.
Yeah,
for the for the group stages.
So so there's been some pricing.
There's
been some pricing,
and
also this. But to be fair, this was a resale as well. So this is someone who's gone out, bought it, or whatever, thinking obviously there's going to be a surge of demand, and obviously it's just held the line on the price. But it does goes to say, look. Yeah, I think they could have done a better job. And then I know DAZN, when we were watching, they were saying about how they made there was a Make-A-Wish, there was a whole foundation stuff, and they were sort of putting some of the kids up there as well, and obviously giving away tickets as well. Like I think FIFA, again, we've learned historically before World Cups, there's normally the Confederations Cup where the hosting nation hosts a tournament for sort of it's kind of like the old format for the Club World Cup, but the nations, but this is obviously sort of the dry run for it. I think FIFA would have learned their lesson here as well. They'll pull their prices down a little bit and make it a little bit more accessible. And
I hope so. I mean, because FIFA was the one who made the choice. They could have. There are plenty of stadiums across the United States that are not quite as big. They made a conscious choice to do this. They also made a conscious choice to do this on the East Coast. They could have flexed their muscle and had a bunch of West Coast because most of the Gold Cup matches are occurring within central United States and on the West Coast. They could have flexed their muscles and they could have done that, but that would not have played as well with the European markets, right? Because the time differences make it very difficult for them to go through. So calamity of FIFA's own making, in my opinion. Right?
If we are objective as well, there is many sort of moving parts here from FIFA's perspective, and many sort of sides that they're trying to appease and trying to solve for. And look, their objective is probably the same as ours is. They want the best tournament they want to give us the best tournament. We want to see the best tournament, right? So sure, would we have liked to have seen 60,000 people in that stadium today and absolutely sort of screaming and going for it? Yes, absolutely. Would we like to see $20? Like, even I do wonder though, even if you had $20 tickets, would it have been sold out? I don't buy this.
Sold out, we'll see, is the quarterfinals or the semifinals and probably the finals at MetLife.
Yes.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I bought tickets to both semifinals. I'm going to both of them. You can still go and get them. $160. You can still go and get those tickets as well. They're still available. Now, part of it is you don't know who's going to be in it, and it's a little bit different because it's a club versus a country, and that's how it is. But anyway. Gentlemen, any more? So the one question I have for you,
it's funny. Go ahead.
The one question I have for you, Mike, is after seeing that Benfica performance, how the hell did they beat Bayern Munich? Was that because that is my one question, because I'm thinking about the other fixture, because I'm going to Flamengo Bayern tomorrow down in Fort Lauderdale. This is probably why I have a red face as well, because I'm in the Florida sun and probably the white wine is talking. However, what Bayern Munich are we going to get? Because I saw Bayern against Boca. I went to that game as well, and Bayern were just a ruthless machine, and also Boca were just toothless. They were not great to beat, to be honest. Fans, fantastic. Team, not so good.
Yep.
What game are we going to get tomorrow when we have Flamengo against Bayern? Because I'm curious on that one.
I think you'll see Benfica against Bayern Munich. The first half was Benfica could have gone into the half 2-0 up. They had one or two more opportunities. But again, Bayern Munich made, I think it was 9 changes, right?
Eight, you're right.
8 or 9, right?
Eight or 9 changes in their.
And despite Benfica having some players in there that weren't regular starters during the season, right? There's a difference between, Benfica having one of their regular starters out versus Olise being out, or Harry Kane being out, or Kimmich being, right? Like, those players just bring a completely different weight to the game. Now, what to expect for Bayern going forward? I mean, Bayern against Boca Juniors, in my opinion, were fantastic. They just weren't efficient, and they weren't able to take the opportunities. And Boca got one chance, and they got back into it. But I expect a Bayern Munich that is, firing on all cylinders. They've got incredible pace going forward. Transition ball, they are so fast. I mean, Coman against Boca Juniors was like a madman. He would pick up the ball, and it was like, all right, catch me if you can. See you guys later.
He's quick.
So I expect that.
Kingsley Coman
I expect that, and I think Flamengo's going to struggle with that pace, and it's going to get chippy. I expect that's how they're going to try to equalize the game, is similar to what Boca Juniors did, is the chippiness, because they can't compete with that pace. It's a different level of soccer, as we saw earlier today.
Yeah. Interesting. So you think Bayern are just going to absolutely run through Flamengo tomorrow? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, they're definitely going to they're going to bring their A game. I mean, I don't think they take the same strategy that they did against Benfica, and they start the B team. No,
they start the kids, right? Yeah.
Oh, they're coming out to strike hard, strike fast, then put the kids on after they got a couple goal lead.
Yeah, I think they win. It's just a matter of how soon can they score. I think if they score early, I think Flamengo will lose their head, and I think a lot of opportunities will be created. But I think Flamengo is going to sit back, sit deep, and try to hit them on the counterattack, just like Botafogo did today against Palmeiras. And if they get fortunate, they get fortunate. But if they concede within like the first 20 minutes, I could see a difficult game for Flamengo.
Yeah, and this is the head goes, all of a sudden they get lashing out. There's red cards, and it just gets nasty and messy, right? Okay, interesting. So basically, you're saying, from your perspective, the Benfica Bayern game was basically Benfica's A team against Bayern Munich. It's basically sort of kids and sort of
correct. I mean, the fact that Benfica has never beaten Bayern Munich in 13 matches, official matches, I mean, speaks for itself, right? So if Bayern Munich had to win that game, I think we would have seen a different performance. Hats off to Benfica, because they won, right? Regardless, they went and did their part.
Yeah.
But again, I think with a strong Bayern and the squad that you would expect, I don't think Benfica, unfortunately, I don't think Benfica would have had the team to beat them.
Okay, fair enough. Okay. And then, gentlemen, so we had another game today, obviously, as you mentioned, Botafogo against Palmeiras.
Yeah, we did. You mentioned it. It's in your brain.
It was there. So yeah, what is the verdict there as well? Because that was such a dull non-event almost relative to what we saw, right? It was hard watching almost, right? 2 Brazilian teams, you'd expect them to be like going for it, but as you say, Botafogo almost said, we're the inferior team. Palmeiras are going to come for us. And as you say, they sit back and try to play counter-attacking football. And again, Estevao, what the hell? This guy, maybe it's the time of night and maybe it's sort of my sentiment, but I don't think this guy, if he goes to Chelsea, he'll just fit right in with the others as well, which is basically talented, quick, can play the ball, but can't play in a team and can't score a goal. That seems to be
we're also going to include overpriced in that. In that you were talking about transfer fees. I mean, listen, they paid almost $36 million for him, and he doesn't look it. Not in this tournament. He doesn't look a fraction of 36 million.
Yeah, he
right.
Definitely was one of the
petulance that he showed on the sidelines. He gets a yellow card. He did something. He either jumped up and yelled at somebody or made a run at somebody. I'm like, really?
If you're his agent, you're going to make the argument and say, well, he got 2 superior player of the matches on the first 2 games, right?
Oh, sure.
If you're on taking the other side of the coin,
by the way,
he scored 0 goals. He scored 0 goals. He came into this tournament with a reputation, and he probably sort of like that carried him through. And look, you can see there is something there. You can see. I know he's saying they're the next Neymar, but he's too light. He's too young. He's clever. He's quick. He's dynamic. But you go and put him up against, like, someone who's going to play against, in the Premier League. And if he goes and plays against, I don't know, who's a Premier League, Burnley have just been promoted to it as well, right? And you've got some, 35-year-old player who's got 3 kids and he's fighting for his next contract as well. And Estevao does a few step overs. He's going to get a broken leg. He's going to get absolutely crunched as well. And he's going to learn very quickly that you can't play that game. So anyway, but that's the Estevao thing. Mike, what was your take on the Brazilian showdown?
I was surprised that, like you said, for me it was a dud. And it's funny because Gary, you said, Botafogo said, "Hey, you guys, we're the inferior team." But let's not forget, Botafogo are the champions of Libertadores, right? So who's the inferior team? And what's shocking is if you look at the stats and you took the logos off, you would assume, right, Libertadores champions, this is their stats, and it's the complete opposite, right? Botafogo, just similar to Benfica, sat back. They did the same thing against PSG. They were just fortunate to get a break and score that goal, and then survived for the rest of the game. And today, survived, and finally, Paulinho tucks one in with his left foot that took a tip off the defender and tucked it into the back post. But I'm very shocked at how poor Botafogo is considering the current champions of the Libertadores. And I think it goes to show that despite Palmeiras not winning the title and not winning the Libertadores, like, Abel Ferreira deserves some credit because this team continues to be super competitive, super hungry. But let's not forget now, the next round against Chelsea, they're missing their captain, Gomez, center back. Be a huge loss.
Stupid disciplinary issues as well. Again,
but I mean, let's be fair. Even yellow. I mean, he was sitting out the next game regardless of whether he got the 2 yellows. Yeah.
But he's a big piece of the puzzle.
Yes, he is. I agree. I think he's going to be terribly missed.
Yes.
And I got to say, I was extraordinarily disappointed with the way Palmeiras, as soon as Paulinho scored,
they just sat back.
What do? Boom, park the bus.
Yep.
Stub him off, put a whole bunch of defenders out. Yep. And listen, was it effective? Sure, it won them the game. But from a game perspective, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? And I would have to say, against a more clinical team, or against a team that had a bit more, like, if they try to pull that crap against Chelsea, I think Chelsea, regardless of how bad they finished today, Gary, would be able to put enough pressure and put some in. Completely attack.
Yes.
All of the stats that you see that are positive from the Botafogo perspective, their possession, right? They had 53% possession. They got all that in the last 20 minutes of the game. Right? They just said, "Yep, go ahead, have the ball." They hardly ever crossed the line.
Yep.
So I was extremely disappointed in that type of play.
And John kept them, and quickly, just John kept them in that game. he made 2 or 3 massive saves throughout the
Brilliant.
regulation time.
Wonderful play by that guy. He was their best player by far, orders of magnitude.
Yeah. No,
let's also say that Philly loves a team in green and white. So
we'll get to it as well. But I have a sneaky suspicion Esteval's going to score his first goal against Chelsea, and there's just this
I do think that would be awesome.
Poetry to it as well. I'm sure you would, Qooligan. Yeah. It's we'll see. Yeah, Mike, you don't seem so convinced as well.
I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't start.
No, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that. FIFA have stepped in on Chelsea before doing this. Before, if you remember, Thibaut Courtois was loaned back to Atletico Madrid, and then Atletico played Chelsea in the Champions League, and I think it was UEFA. But FIFA came in.
I'm not saying it from the aspect of Chelsea not allowing it. I'm saying it from the aspect of, does Abel Ferreira think his head's in the right place?
I think he's right.
At 18 years old,
Mike, I wouldn't start him.
Yeah. I don't know if I would either.
It has nothing to do. And it has nothing to do with the fact that he's playing against the team that he's going against.
Yeah.
It's just that he hasn't been that good.
And this adds another element of pressure.
Yeah, it does. Not do him. Yeah, you could use it as a motivating factor and say, "I'll bring you on as a superstar," and then go
both ways. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, gentlemen, just moving forward as we're coming close on time, we have obviously 2 games tomorrow as well, and it's fantastic now that we're in the knockout phases. We have the showdown, the Paris showdown against Messi, Miami against PSG. I'm actually a little bit excited for this one. I am a little bit excited. My gut tells me, my intuition tells me that PSG are just going to run through an aged and sort of decrepit Miami. But also there's the Messi factor. Is he going to sort of dig deep and sort of pull it up and sort of, knock in a couple of goals and they're going to win 2-1 or something like that? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Qooligan, you can go first.
I think PSG destroys them. I really do. I just don't think. Listen, I'm excited to see this as well because there is something. Listen, Messi has steel. All right. I mean, he's got all the bona fides, and he does have the ability to will both himself and the people that he plays around him into being better visions and versions of themselves.
Yeah,
I expect that to happen occasionally in this match, but the overall impact, that's just not going to be enough. He can't do it for 90 minutes, and I don't think that PSG is porous enough, and I don't think Luis Enrique is going to be making any mistakes on this. So I think PSG take it. Absolutely.
Well, score prediction, what do you think?
Oh, I think it's 3-1 PSG, and I think 4-1's completely conceivable in my opinion.
Yeah. Mike, what's your take?
I agree. I'm a big Messi fan, but again, he can't do it on his own. Suarez, he can barely move. I know that they.
I mean, it's.
I thought that Inter Miami's first 75 minutes of that game against Botafogo for me were the most energetic that I've seen that team since Messi joined. I mean, the pressing, the energy. I've never seen them like that. And I was telling my friends who were watching the game, there's no way they're going to maintain this. And sure enough, they fell apart at the end and conceded 2 goals. I just think PSG's got too much youth. They've got too much quality. I think they will learn for the mistakes, against Botafogo. I think those are going to be key pieces for them to learn from. And I just think there's just too much quality on the side. Despite me liking Messi, he might keep them in the game for a little bit or might find a set piece or whatnot. But I just think there's too much quality on the other side. I agree with Qooligan. I think a 3-1, 4-1.
I agree with everything you're saying. However, there is still the Messi factor, but there is also another factor, the weather factor. Now, that's Parisians. They're playing in Atlanta. They're playing in Atlanta.
No.
Yes.
No.
Why not?
No. You want to know why?
Why?
That field is closed.
Oh yeah,
they're going to close it.
That field is not open.
They will close the dome. They're going to close the dome.
The dome will be closed.
And then are you sure about that? Okay.
100%. Why? They can't afford to have a weather delay in this one. No, they're going to close.
David Beckham gets on the phone to Infantino and says, "Hey, I want the field open." I said, "Well, we'll see."
I don't think the Atlanta stadium even opens.
No,
it definitely opens. It definitely all the time. It's closed all the time. Is that right?
It doesn't. It's not going to be open for this game. Trust me. Weather will not be a factor in this.
Okay. All right.
Oh, it has. All right.
Frantically
Google tells me
Googling.
that it has a retractable roof. I thought it was
It
completely
does.
closed.
Yeah.
but
It,
it's
no,
not.
no.
I
It
don't think
opens.
they're
It
gonna open
opens.
I don't expect it to be open though.
No way.
I think we've had
have. I
seven
think.
weather
I think
delays in
David
this
Beckham's
tournament.
on the phone. Yeah. The weather, the Messi and the weather factor are the things to look at. If you're betting on this one as well, watch out for this one.
See if there's a problem.
And then that will play an impact. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. So that is the I think we're all agreed. Sort of 3-4-1 PSG you'd expect here as well. Messi will hold the line for 60, 70 minutes, and then it'll just crumble, and then PSG just run through them and bring on the kids and carry on going. And then I'm fortunate enough to be able to go to this Bayern Flamengo game. We're thinking again, if Bayern get an early goal, it suddenly Flamengo start throwing fists and elbows and suddenly receive red cards and it becomes 3-4-1. Is that what I'm thinking as well?
I'd say that Flamengo gets more red cards than goals. Sure, I'll take that, honey.
Wonderful.
Yeah, no, but I think Bayern by at least two. At least two.
Okay.
Yeah, if Bayern scores in the first half hour, I think Bayern wins by 2+. If they go into the break tied, I think it's going to be another chippy game. Bayern creating a lot of chances, knocking at the door, and Flamengo just holding on. But if this game goes into the final minutes and it's tied, Flamengo has the capability to snatch one when you'd least expect it. I mean, look at the game against Chelsea. So Bayern, if they're going to help themselves, they need to make sure that they don't leave that door open for Flamengo late in the game because they will take it.
Yeah, fair enough.
I like it.
Interesting. Wonderful. Well, gentlemen, as always, it's good to sort of pick this up as well. Now we get into the knockout phases as well. Mike, it's been great to have you on.
Thank you so
you're always
much.
welcome back on as well. Yeah, thank you for coming back on. I don't know if we obviously have the Hooligan Soccer podcast as well. We'll have to get you back on and discuss that as well on things all things US as well. But gentlemen, as always, thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow back for more fun and games.
Peace.
Okay.